37th parallel on America's haunted highway, it's Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange.
Oh yeah.
What the
Welcome back to Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the slow jams, baby. Just kidding.
Yeah, this is pretty unusual.
Yeah, pretty good.
This is
Hopefully,
pretty unusual.
the ladies are feeling it. Yes, welcome back, guys, to Season 2, Episode 8 of PPP.
Can we just drop the seasons?
We are. After tonight, we will drop the seasons. Yeah, if you can't tell already, not only do I have a very sweet baritone Barry White voice, but I also have a wicked sinus infection that's had me out of commission for about 3 days. So tonight's episode, guys, might be a little bit discombobulated, but by God, we're going to deliver something. So without further ado, my two co-hosts, Preston and Rob, boys, how are you?
Good.
I'm here. Yay!
That's all we asked. That's all we asked. Preston, you got your roof finished, right?
Yeah, I got the roof finished on my house, so no more nose floods around this joint. Got the floors done, and I guess we're going to remodel the bathroom next. So,
Good Lord.
Hell yeah.
That sounds like work.
oh, you have no idea, brother. You have no idea.
The joys of homeownership. Rob, anything new and exciting in your life besides new D&D books?
Nope, just Volo's Guide to Monsters dropped tonight, so when we do our little side quests in D&D, you guys will have more interesting things to fight.
There we go.
So.
There we go. Well,
God, it seems like if we ever get back and play that, it seems
we'll
like
be
it's
back
been forever.
on Wednesday.
yeah, man, we'll be there. We'll be there on Wednesday. Don't you worry.
Sorry, we missed one game, Preston. I'm sorry it ruined
Yeah.
the whole 2 weeks.
Man,
It did.
poor little guy.
It screwed my life, is what it did, Robert.
Oh my God, you gotta quit calling me Robert. It drives me. You shouldn't call me Robert. You've always called me Rob, and suddenly it's Robert tonight. It's weird.
Kind of call you Robbie.
No. God fucking
Ooh.
no.
Oh.
God fucking no.
Can we call you Bert?
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we call you Burt Baccarat? Why do
I'm hanging you
birds
up.
suddenly...
Well, with all that, I think we should just go ahead and jump into the news. Did you, God, don't die now. Did you guys hear about the woman who farted mid-surgery and caught herself on
I
fire?
did hear about this.
Her vagina on fire?
No, Preston, it had nothing to do with her vagina that I know of.
Yes, this is the lady that was getting her cervix lasered, and she farted, and it caught all of her body
That's
on
kind
fire.
of scary.
Uh-huh. You tell the story, jerk.
That's all I got.
Oh, good. Okay. Yeah. So the long and the short of it is basically, in Japan, a woman suffered serious burns due to flatulence sparked fire. According to the story in the Japanese newspaper, the Ashi Shimbun. The incident occurred in April, but the hospital officials released a report on the fire in the Tokyo Medical University Hospital on October 28th.
Wow.
So it happened a while back, apparently. Yeah, according to the experts who have conducted the report, a laser seems to have ignited a gaseous explosion despite a lack of flammable material in the operating room. The woman is having laser surgery on her cervix, a common treatment, they add, for abdominal cervical cells. No, that's not right either. Abnormal cervical cells. It says putting the laser near the irradiation caused the laser to ignite as soon as the flatulence was released from her intestines, causing the fire to light the, I guess they call it a curtain. I'm going to assume a drape.
Oh.
But I don't think it's like the drapes on the window, right? We'd safely assume it's like the drape across her body,
Yeah,
maybe?
that's probably
like the
what
cotton.
it is.
Yeah.
So you can't look.
Okay,
they
the
put a
cotton
drape,
drape over her
you
body.
so that you can't look down if you happen to wake up and see what's going on a lot of times, especially. I don't know if she was asleep when this happened.
She was out when it happened, but yeah, basically, the quote-unquote fart caused a fire when the laser hit it, and then lit this drape on fire, which covered a pretty decent amount of her lower body in burns. It says, if it's not already horrifying enough to imagine farting in such a vulnerable situation, the incident also serves as a reminder that there are real possibilities that your routine surgery could go wrong, leaving you with burns or a farting penis or carrying around a surgical tool in your body.
Wait, a farting penis?
I've never heard of a flatulating phallus. I've never heard of that.
Hey, I don't...
I didn't know penises could fart. Are you sure you're reading that right? Are you even on the same news
You need to
article?
lay out the cough medicine, bro.
Did you jump ahead? Yeah.
Listen, guys, I think I know my flatulence more than you know.
I think you're confused, Barry White. The one-eyed yogurt monster can't fart, okay? It can sling yogurt, but it can't fart.
I've never heard it called that before. Also, in news, the Mars rover has discovered a curious metal egg-shaped meteorite on the surface of Mars, blah, blah, blah. The world's turning upside down. That's kind of
I
boring.
didn't hear that story.
Now we have
Well, that's all you're going to get. Basically, it discovered a metal meteorite on the surface of Mars, and it sounds really fucking cool. And then they're like, wait a second.
Oh.
These are commonly found on Earth and Mars both, so really...
Why'd you even bring it up?
There's nothing important about it at all, so... You know what is important? A mysterious floating black ring over Disneyland.
Dun dun dun.
That's what's important. When you visit any Disney park, you're encouraged to suspend your normal beliefs about what's possible and enter a world of fantasy, magic, and illusion. So it came as no real surprise when at the end of April, while enjoying the sights and sounds of Disneyland in Anaheim, California, Kyle Hawkins saw something odd in the evening sky. Quoted, "No idea what this could be. Walking up Main Street at Disneyland, following the parade," Hawkins wrote on his YouTube page, "everyone around me starts looking up and pointing at this daunting black ring floating methodically above us." And that's what it looks like, a giant black ring floating in the sky. I half expected an alien portal to open up through the ring as we were gazing in disbelief. I yanked my phone out to record as soon as I saw the thing, and then immediately uploaded it to YouTube. "This is raw footage. I apologize for the shakiness," he says. Hawkins assumed it was a windy night, so it couldn't have been a smoke ring. Everyone watched it in fear and confusion. The strangest thing I've ever seen. It's not known why this took 2 months to grab any media attention, but that sometimes happens with dubious UFO stories. So yeah, basically a lot of people posted photos and videos of this giant black ring floating over Disneyland. And what they're saying is it basically was a smoke ring, saying creating smoke vortices generally requires a blast through a circular structure, perhaps a factory smokestack or homemade trash can smoke ring launcher. What? I enjoy how it goes from somewhat scientific to some hillbilly smoke launcher out of a trash can. Or a homemade trash can smoke ring launcher, or a hippy-dippy apparatus specially designed for the job, according to NBC. Thanks a lot, NBC.
We need better sources.
So yeah, some creepy stuff happening in Disneyland. Yeah, so there you go. One really cool news story, and then something that kind of fizzled out, like a smoke ring. Well, Rob, what you got for us, man?
Well, I was looking into a story earlier today. A woman in Russia, she was feeling pretty lost. Her best friend had passed away, and she was trying to deal with it. She said it had been the first death that she'd really ever encountered in her younger life. And she said it really affected her quite a bit. And so she had all these text messages and pictures of this guy. And she started working on an AI program. So she started actually basically putting all this information into the program she had created. If you look up the Luca app on iPhones, it's not available on Android because I looked because I was going to mess around with it a little bit before the show, but unfortunately it's only an iPhone app. It's called Luca, Luka, and if you look up, I guess it asks you to look up somebody's.
If you look it up.
If you look up the name of the person that you want to, the AI that you want to talk to, if you type in @Roman, ROMAN, you will get to speak to this AI. But basically, she tested it out with a lot of his friends and stuff, and they thought it was kind of creepy because they really do believe that the AI seems to really be their friend. I mean, they really feel like it uses his talk, the way he speaks, and everything as well. So it pretty much impressed them. And she even tried it with his parents, and there was mixed results on that. his mom felt like it made him like it made her feel really happy because she really felt like she was talking to her son. She said, it just made her feel like things were easier.
Right.
However, the father said it just really creeped him out because he just felt like it was too creepy and like, it's harder to let something like that go.
Yeah. So, does it say how it works? Like, is it an algorithm that would go through and like read his text messages you can input, or?
I think basically it's kind of those algorithms where they take a whole bunch of information. Like she said, she had bunches of text messages from thousands of text messages. And, if it's your best friend, you got all this information. So you're going to learn his mannerisms and stuff like that through those things.
Oh, okay.
And they even put in pictures and stuff like that. So...
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like a speaking app; it was more like a text app. Does it say?
I don't know because I can't look up the app. I'm guessing it's just a text-based AI. But we've had these stories before where the AI actually can learn from the way it's spoken to. So if you type all that information in, or direct all that messages into a program, it wouldn't be too hard for it to figure that stuff out. Because you remember last year we had the Microsoft AI that started talking about racist shit and Trump.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. It was a Twitter bot, right?
Yeah, Twitter bot, and they introduced this thing to the world, and it only took it like I think 15 hours till 4chan had got it to say Trump was the greatest presidential hope we had, and also racist things as well. So So I don't know if this thing records all the information that it has when somebody talks to it. But yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Oh, wow.
So how would you guys feel? Let's say you had a loved one that passed away. How would you feel if you could do that? Would you do that?
I don't know that I could. I mean, it's like asking me, could you ever be Amish? Well, I don't know because I've never not been not Amish. So, I mean...
Yeah, it just
I don't know. I guess if I was put in that situation, I'd have a better way to answer the question, but I don't think I could.
Right.
I think it's.
I think it's better just to let that person go because you're just holding on to like a false memory and causing more, emotional pain for yourself, even though you don't realize it, because it's not them, and you just let it go. Let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. There was an old sci-fi movie about that where a guy. His girlfriend gets choked out by her father, and he's building a robot in the garage, and so he basically puts a robot brain inside her head, and then kind of trains the AI, and then it becomes a killing machine, and everything goes south. So, I don't know, man. I don't think I would. I think, like Preston said, let sleeping dogs lie, and
I will
just remember.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, just kind of remember them for who they were and how they were, because this could also kind of. You could grow to resent the person if it finally has to get the plugs pulled.
Right. So, basically, there's one caveat to this story, though. People were bringing up that this was the exact plot of an episode of the series Black Mirror, which is now a Netflix exclusive, which I checked out the first episode of that show. Has any of you guys watched that yet?
You know what? I just watched episode 1 and 2 last night, and part of episode 3, so...
I started watching 2, and I quit watching it before it's finished, but I'll need to go back. Episode 1 was fucking strange.
I loved it, man. That show's really incredible. I was actually going to talk about that at the end of the episode today, but it's the way I understand it is that show is pretty much like a Twilight Zone for the modern day.
Right.
So, the themes...
Well, just to give you an idea of, like, each show is, like, totally different. Like he said, it's like a Twilight Zone episode. But the very first the first show they did is about... a princess? Was it a princess?
Yeah, it's a British TV show, so it takes place, over in the UK, and especially the story. Yeah, a young princess gets kidnapped.
Yeah, and they give a list of demands for her to be returned safely and without harm. She's crying on a YouTube video, and basically it's the dumbest idea ever, but they play it off so well. But they basically tell that the prime minister has to fuck a pig.
What?
On live TV.
On live TV.
Does he man up? Does he do it?
Well,
you have to watch the episode.
Yeah, you gotta watch.
Yeah, you gotta watch it.
Because this part's all like in the first 5 minutes, you're like, "What?" And I was like, "This is so fucking stupid." And I started turning it off, but I was so mesmerized with how good the acting was.
Right.
I was like, it's such a strange proposal. I mean, and then you get into it like, well, is he gonna do it? So
yeah, Yeah, the guy who plays the Prime Minister actually is one of the main characters of Penny Dreadful as well. So,
So, and I started
yeah,
watching.
I just finished that.
I started watching the second episode, and it was kind of different and weird, and so I didn't finish.
Yeah, it's a far cry from the tones of the first one for sure. But I mean, it's definitely got a lot of social commentary, man. Just like Twilight Zone did, back in the day. So it definitely speaks true to people's values and priorities in this day and age. So,
Man,
I'll probably watch more of it.
I'm still trying to get caught up on Rick and Morty. I just got started on that, and now you guys are throwing this shit at me.
well, you finished Rick and Morty, my friend.
Pig fucking can wait.
Yeah. What you need is lots and lots of Mr. Meeseeks.
Oh my god, we just got past that episode.
I can't believe you've never watched Rick and Morty. I thought you'd already watched it all.
No, now I'm in love.
Yeah. I think his problem was trying to find an avenue that he could watch it on because Cartoon Network is so hit and miss on what they'll show you on their website versus what they won't. And so by the time he got around to it, they took it off of the free viewing on their website. Yeah, so thankfully Hulu has it.
Thank you, Hulu. Thank you.
Yeah, we could spend a whole episode talking about how great Rick and Morty is, man. Just everything about it's just fan-freaking-tastic.
We got other shit to talk about. Like, so I was looking for stories today, and I came across something called about an alien in Palestine, and then I lost that story because I thought I saved it in my research. So I was trying to figure out something else to talk about, and then I came across this story from Malta. Now, Malta is an island off the coast of Italy. There's like a 3-chain island that's grouped together there, and there's a lot of smaller uninhabited islands. I can't remember what one of the islands is called, but the other one is named Gozo. But apparently Malta is an island, and it's an they call it an archipelago. Does that sound right? Archipelago.
I'd buy that for
$1.
$1.
The other island's called Delos.
It might be.
Because that's where they did the Delian deal. A little bit of history.
So anyway, back in 1940, a woman was out there, and she was interested because they found like a bunch of caverns and stuff underneath houses and stuff out there, like all these large cavern structures built, like they were built, and they don't know when they were built. And so basically, they went down into the caverns. They met a guide who took them down to these caverns. Now this is like 1940. This is before World War II, and she said that she went down to this cavern, and they got to one point, and their guide's name was Joe, and Joe said he would not go on any further. And she was kind of like, well, I want to see what's further. Can I go up there? He goes, you can, but you enter at your own risk. He goes, I will not follow you down there. And this woman's name was Miss Lois Jessup. So Lois went down there, and she said she came out to where there's a large pit in this cavern system. And she said she's kind of looking over the ledge, and she said she looked about 50 feet down, and she could just see darkness and stuff. She thought, wow, this is really large. And, it was really, all she had was a candle. So, when that goes out, then, you're fucking blind. So she's standing there looking down, and she says across the chasm, she's suddenly seen some large giants basically walking across this gap. And she says that they were like white giants, so they had like white fur-ish. Almost like she talked about like they had fur on them. And she's like, well, that's weird, And she said, in the story that she backed up, and as she backed up, they looked her way. And she said they all held out their hands in front of them. And suddenly she said she felt like a large breeze happen. And she ran back. And when she got back to the guide, he said, so did you see anything there? And she's like, no, I didn't see anything. And he gave her a look, and she kind of gave him a look. So she knew that he knew something. So, it's a strange story. But it gets even weirder than that is Joe told her, hey, if you want to go look in the caves, I know there's a group of school children and their teacher are going to be going soon. So if you want to get a part of their group, they may let you go. And he gave them their information to the teacher and everything. And then she didn't think any more about it, and she went on with her life. Well, apparently those children and the teacher disappeared underneath these caverns in Malta. Which, you're thinking, that's kind of a bullshit. It sounds kind of bullshit, However, this story came from like the National Geographic.
Right.
They actually found the woman. She was a real person. She lived in New York. And somebody, I don't know if National Geographic went and talked to her. Somebody went and talked to her, and she told the exact same story, except she added that when she went down to the cave, she didn't go alone. It was a little narrow area to get through, and she had 2 other people with her because Joe wouldn't go with them, so she was in front, and she had a candle, and she told the story again, how she came out to the cliff, and she looked over and seen these things. She says they blew out her candle, and the other people behind her were pushing because they wanted her to hurry up and get out of the way so they could see what's going on. And she's like, no, back up, get away, we got to go. And she says, that they put their hands out and they blew out this wind, and that wind blew out the candle. And she said Joe talked to her about it, and she just seemed like he thought that he knew more about what was going on. So she even tried to investigate it and couldn't really find any more information out. However, they did bring up that the children disappeared, and they said for days afterwards, the parents swear that they could hear their kids crying and stuff, and they couldn't find them. And she said that was weird, but eventually they did find out, just like a lot of these houses had like these houses are over hundreds of years old, and they all had like pantries and stuff. Some of them led down into this cavern. So it's a possibility that the kids got lost when their lights went out and just walked around down there until they died because they couldn't find their way back out. There was no light source, and literally the parents could hear them crying and screaming, but could not find them because of the way caves echo and stuff. And they were, kids are screaming down there and they can't find them, and it's actually coming up into their houses and stuff. So that's just kind of a creepy story, even without the giant stuff in there. Now, when they found the woman, she swears that the giants were about 25 feet tall. So those are pretty large giants, because, usually when we hear the giant stories, they're talking about 10, 15 feet giants. You usually don't hear giant stories about 25 feet tall. So I just thought that was a really interesting story that came up today. And I thought, well, I'm going to bring that up because that's a story I've not heard before, and it just seemed kind of interesting. And eventually, when the children did disappear, the cavern behind them had collapsed, too. And that's why they probably couldn't find their way back out. So anyway, what was that, Preston?
I was going to say, I've actually heard this story before, and one of the articles that I was reading linked it back to here in the United States are Mount Shasta, and all the reports of the giant beings that live in Mount Shasta, and how like this race of beings, this advanced race of beings who are kind of tall, white, and pasty, they live in an underground cavern system that's linked all across the world. So it's just kind of neat to hear that story pop up in in Italy, and then we have our own stories here in the United States that relate as well.
All right. So well, that's all I had. So. That's my stories.
Well, you know what else happened around that time, Rob?
That?
Basically, Walt Disney's mom died.
Wah, 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 wah.
Sad trombone. Yes. I wanted to get back to Disney. I thought that news story is going to be a little bit more interesting.
It's kind of fizzled out.
But there's an egg on my face. Maybe I should finish reading stuff before I'm like, the world has to know. Ever since the famous Michael Jackson incident of 2000.
Yeah, hey Sean, remember when Michael Jackson was a vampire? They found him.
They never said he was a vampire in that story.
That's what it sounded like.
You're nothing but a bully. Well, I'm gonna get back. I'm gonna get back to Walt Disney and Disney World. I found an interesting article here called 10 Real-Life Disney Deaths. And I think everybody's kind of looked into a little bit of the quote-unquote dark Disney, but I found some really interesting stuff here. And number 10 on this list of deaths concerning Disney is number 10, Walt Disney's mom. After the success of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs made Walt Disney a wealthy man, he had a new home built for his parents. Unfortunately, the furnace was poorly installed, and in November of 1938, a gas leak killed his mother, Flora Disney, by carbon monoxide poisoning. The tragedy deeply affected Disney, and death and separation have certainly been strongly featured in his later films. So that could be one of the reasons why some of his shows get so dark. On the same tune as keeping it morbid, number 10 is The Boy Who Never Grew Up. In March of 1968, a couple of boys playing in an abandoned tenant building in New York City found the corpse of a junkie surrounded by religious pamphlets and empty beer bottles. The 31-year-old man had perished from a heart attack brought on by years of drug use. There was no identification on the body, and the man was subsequently buried in an unmarked pauper's grave. 19 months later, however, the man's mother contacted the FBI and Disney Studios in a desperate bid to find her son. A fingerprint match was made, which confirmed the tragedy. The body belonged to Bobby Driscoll. That's right, best known for voicing Peter Pan in the cartoon. Isn't that sad? Jeez. But here, this story is going to kind of pick things back up a little bit. Story number 8 involves Pluto, everybody's favorite doggy sidekick. On February 11th, 2004, 38-year-old Javier Cruz was gearing up for an appearance in the daily afternoon parade in Disney's Frontierland. Cruz, who was dressed as the dog Pluto, apparently caught his foot, tripped in front of the Beauty and the Beast float. Unable to move out of the way in time, the father of two was struck and killed. Workers were forced to lift the float off of Javier's corpse with a forklift. An OSHA fined the park $6,500 for serious violations of employee safety. That seems like that's kind of...
Yeah, you really brought things up there, Sean.
Yeah, that seems like a really weak fine, though. Like, you killed a man.
But what year was this?
That was 2004.
Oh!
Yeah. Come on, OSHA. 2009 was a particularly rough year for Disney World. During one of the particularly brutal 7-week-long stretches during the summer, 3 different employees lost their lives, culminating in the death of 30-year-old Anislav Varbanov. Varbanov was a performer in the Indiana Jones' Epic Stunt Spectacular who injured his head while rehearsing a tumble. The show had seen troubles in the past with multiple injuries caused by malfunctioning equipment. Okay, sorry, that one wasn't very happy either. This one, though, this one right here, I think will... Yeah, this one's going to liven things up. Number 6, America Sings. So with the title like America Sings, how can this one be sad, right? On July 8th, 1974, an incredibly gruesome incident occurred at Disneyland's America Sings attraction, a rotating stage show. Deborah Stone was an 18-year-old hostess responsible for greeting new audiences. She'd taken the job to help pay for her upcoming education at Iowa State University. You know what? I should make a disclaimer. I'm not making fun of this. This is actually really sad. I should have approached that differently. After ushering in a new group of people, Stone wandered too near to the moving theater wall and was crushed against the stationary portion of the stage. Her screams were heard, but not before the moving wall could be halted. The young woman was dead. The attraction was closed for 2 days following Mrs. Stone's death, and safety precautions were implemented to prevent further incidents. So basically, I've heard this story in more detail. She got stuck between a rotating wall and a rotating platform and a wall, and while they're performing, like, you could hear her screams coming from behind the music. Really, really, really terrible. Number 5, It's a Small World. In October 2010, a 53-year-old cleaner subcontracted to Disneyland Paris was working on a boat in the It's a Small World attraction. When the ride was accidentally turned on, the man was dragged beneath the boat, where he suffered grievous injuries. Though airlifted to a local hospital, the man shortly died afterwards. God, that would suck. Here's a side story that honestly will lift the spirits. Shayla and I went to Disney World in Florida for our honeymoon. And I don't know if anybody's ever been on It's a Small World before. Have you guys ever been? If you go, you could probably skip that ride. So basically, it's like a 10-minute boat ride through like these man-made tunnels, and it's these creepy little like...
It's a small world.
I know what the ride is. I just never tried it.
Yeah.
It's a small world after all.
And you're going through this like 15 different countries. So for 10 minutes, you're hearing 15 different renditions of It's a Small World in 15 different languages. And we thought, you know what? As dumb as that ride is, we should go to get the full experience of Disney. So we got on it, and halfway through, the boat stopped, and we had to sit in between, like, China and Germany for 45 minutes.
Oh, my gosh.
So
And that's when you wish you had a Mr. Meesick button so you could press it and ask how you could kill yourself.
Right. Yeah, so imagine that. 45 minutes of being stuck on that damn ride between, like, China and Germany. So, yeah, there's that. So,
Did you at least make
the Big
out?
Thunder... I'm not saying. The Big Thunder Railroad, number 4. The Big Thunder Railroad was a kind of runaway train roller coaster that is located at 3 different Disney parks. And throughout the years, it's been one of the more dangerous rides. On September 5th, 2003, an improperly maintained train car derailed at Disneyland, striking the top of the tunnel and then landing on top of another car. 21-year-old Marcelo Torres died of blunt force trauma and internal bleeding. 10 others were injured. Torres' family reached a substantial out-of-court settlement with Disney in 2005. Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin Ride. Disney played this one a little bit shadily. On September 22, 2000, 4-year-old Brandon Zucker tumbled beneath the taxi cab at Roger Rabbit's Cartoon Spin Ride. In accordance with the company's policy, Disney security was alerted before the paramedics. Oh, that's shitty. You tell security before the paramedics? Damn. And it was 10 minutes before the child was freed. Brandon had no pulse, and though he was resuscitated, he suffered an irreversible brain damage. Facing a legal and public relations disaster, Disney changed their regulations regarding contacting emergency personnel on October 7th, claiming meanwhile it had nothing to do with Zucker's incident. An out-of-court settlement, which did not require Disney to assume blame for the incident, paid Brandon's medical expenses, but he never recovered. He never spoke or walked again, and he died January 26th of 2009. Number 2, Mary Poppins. Matthew Garber starred in 3 Disney films, including The 3 Lives of Thomasina and The Gnome-Mobile, but he was best known for playing Michael Banks in Mary Poppins. Garber quit acting in the late 60s. In 1976, he contracted hepatitis while in India. His father sent for him, but before he could make it home to London, the disease spread into his pancreas. The family denied that the drug use had been to blame, claiming Matthew had properly eaten bad meat.
But he did it properly.
Probably eaten bad meat. He died on June 13, 1977, just 21 years old. Okay, number 1. Drumroll. That just sounded gross, but I'm going to keep it. Walt Disney. Disney was a heavy smoker all his life, so there was nothing particularly tragic or unexpected about his death in 1966 at the age of 65 from lung cancer. But Disney would leave the world with one last mystery. After he'd lost the ability to speak, he communicated by writing notes on a pad of paper. The last 2 words he wrote were Kurt Russell, the name of the young actor who had just begun working with Disney Studios, appearing in the film Follow Me, Boys. The significance of the words have never been determined. Russell himself claims to have no idea what Walt Disney wanted. Some recent evidence claims that he may have written something else afterwards, but Russell himself has asserted that his name was indeed Disney's final communication. Disney was cremated, his ashes interred at the Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Glendale, California. To this day, rumors endure that Disney was cryogenically frozen after his death, a fact that members of his family would admittedly deny. His daughter, Diane, asserted that he probably never even heard of the procedure. The first known cryogenically preserved person was Dr. James Bedford, who was frozen on January 12, 1967, about a month after Disney had died. But a little bit more to that story. Everybody's probably heard the rumor that Walt Disney had sold his soul to the devil, right?
No, not really.
You guys ever hear that one? Rob, apparently. The abridged version goes like this. Basically, he was down and out and was trying to find some way to make a ton of money and have the world love him, so he sold his soul to the devil with the deal that says, you can have my soul if you give me one iconic character that the world will fall in love with. And ergo pops out Mickey Mouse. And with that, he had a lot of success. And they say that basically whenever he had to meet his maker and pay his toll, he had his body cryogenically frozen. That way, the devil could never reclaim his soul.
Until the fucking power goes out.
Yeah.
Who's your bitch now, Disney?
I've got nothing but time, Walt.
I got a question to propose to you gentlemen.
Butt Ranch?
So, if your brain is like a receiver for your consciousness, so it's like your consciousness is a non-local thing, and somebody gets cryogenically frozen, so they're off in the afterlife doing whatever it is that they're doing, and then we bring that body back to life. Does their soul, you think, get sucked back out of wherever it is back into that body? I wonder if they got reincarnated. Like, what happens then? Or is it just like a golem, like an empty container, and whoever wants to jump in can be like, let's go along for the ride?
Well, if you think about it, we do hear stories from time to time about somebody that basically dies when they get frozen, and like in their heart stops and stuff. And we do hear sometimes they do have the out of body experience. Now, does that happen when you cryogenically freeze somebody for years? Could you imagine that? You're just watching yourself in a tube as you wait to be resurrected? I mean, how horrible would that be? You know, like you could, I mean, I don't know. Think about that. That could be interesting. You're like, oh, I'm dead, but, you know, my soul is still able to travel, and I can still look in on the people I cared about. That would be kind of interesting, but is that how it works? But...
yeah. Well, maybe that's limbo. Maybe people get stuck in limbo who can't quite get out, you know. Something happened and preserve their soul, maybe. My thought, too, is like, if your your brain's a receiver, then if you get frozen cryogenically, maybe the signal just gets interrupted, or the power gets shut down and you just kind of stop, and then if they thaw you back out, why... It's like you put a new battery in and turn the controller back on, so to speak, turn the system back on. Or if you do get frozen and you die and you get reincarnated to somebody else, maybe your new existence keeps going, and tra-la-la, one day you're walking and all of a sudden your body's being thawed out and boom, you get hit by a falling piano out of a building, and then you wake back up in your in your frozen body.
What if your leather life sucked? Then again, if you got cryogenically frozen, your life probably didn't suck too bad because you're probably wealthy, because that shit's expensive.
Unless you're the poor bastard who got, hey, let's find a homeless guy and freeze him to see if this works. And then you're brought back, 100 years later and you're still just a homeless hobo.
I think at that point they'd Vanilla Sky your ass like Tom Cruise and like rebuild you a new body and do something nice for you.
But can you imagine being frozen in like 1955 and being thawed out in the future, like 2015? It'd be really weird just to wake up in the future. Speaking of futures, Preston.
Yeah.
Why don't you tell us about tarot card reading?
So
sweet segue.
This weekend in Wichita here was the tri-monthly, every 3 months psychic fair, or the wellness fair.
Now, hold on, let's bring this up again because we had this argument last night. When you say tri-monthly, does that mean it happens 3 times a month, or does it happen every 3 months?
Every 3 months.
Okay. Now, there was an argument last night in our Xbox chat that when bi-weekly is brought up, or bi-monthly, I asked, bi-monthly, do you mean it happens twice a month, or does it happen every 2 months? And they all acted like I was a fucking idiot because I thought that
of course
it could possibly come up to twice a month. Like, that's not what bi-monthly means. I was like, bullshit. So I looked it up in the dictionary. Guess what? It could mean either fucking thing.
Okay, well, I looked it up in J.K. Rowling's 4th Harry Potter book, and it's the Tri-Wizard Tournament, meaning it happens every 3 years.
All right, now I'm the host of the show. I've gotten rid of Sean.
You just hung up on me. You jerk. You have no idea who you're messing with.
Throw down the Harry
He's not
Potter
answering
shit.
now.
That's probably weird, guys. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
No, I got fucking tired of listening to your shit.
Joke's on you, jerks.
I got fucking tired of listening to your shit and I hung up on you.
Oh, I'm sorry if you were wrong. Is that what you do? You just run away?
Yeah, I was wrong. Okay, J.K. Rowling's 4th book. What the fuck does that even fucking mean? She didn't
It's
write
Harry
the
Potter.
goddamn dictionary.
No, she didn't, Rob, and neither did you.
No,
Captain
I read
Science.
it. That's why I know what bi-monthly
You
and
didn't read the
bi-weekly
dictionary. You read the dictionary.
is. Okay, anyway, shh.
Bullshit artist. You're a bullshit artist.
Oh.
Okay, tell us more about your psychic fair.
Anyways, so every 3 months we have like this little wellness fair, and then all the psychics get together and they have like little booths and stuff. Like this one guy, he sells
Booze or booths?
booths.
Okay, I don't want a bunch of fucking drunk carny folk.
Oh, that'd be a fun time. Anyways, like this one guy's got a booth, and it's like nothing but crystal skulls, and he
Is his name Indiana?
Well, he's got like the jade skulls, he's got crystal skulls, he's got emerald skulls, he's got amethyst skulls.
He's got skulls. We get it.
He's
Move on.
got yeah, and like some of them are
Skulls for days.
as little as like $90 for the teeny tiny ones, and then
Oh,
he's
little.
got.
As little as $90.
We're
Okay.
talking like maybe a half an inch. So like
What?
yeah, they're carved, they're nice. And then he's got some softball sized ones, or maybe like $200, $300, and then
Okay, hang on. His business plan is to sell you a $100 skull the size of a dice, but then tantalize you with a softball-sized one for $200.
like $350.
Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah. Anyways, and then there's like another guy that's got like the crystal wands. So if you want to buy the different shaped wands, those are like $50-$60. And then there's the lady with the light bed. So you lay down on this massage bed, and then it's got this weird like 1960s robotic arm movie apparatus thing that's got these triangular shaped lights that correspond to your chakras with the correct colors, and they sit there and they blink back and forth, shoving the light rays into your chakras, activating your chakras. And this is $35 an hour. Boy, this is the real healing deal right here. And then, of course, if you'd like to talk to one of the psychics, you can get tarot card readings. You can get past life readings. The past life readings was like $35, and the guy looked like a child molester, so I was, like a little bit like, maybe not so much. So I did the tarot card reading because that looked safe, and basically it was $15 for 10 minutes. And she starts off by shuffling the deck. And she had me, well, what type of reading do you want? And I said, well, what type of reading can I do? She's like, well, we have just like a generic reading where I just see what the cards say. She's like, or I can, if you want to do something on finances, I can do a finance reading. If you want to do a love reading, I can do a love reading. If you want to do a past life reading, I can do a past life reading. And I'm all about the whole past life thing. So I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do a past life reading.
And you found out that you were frozen in a past life.
No. And so what she does is she shuffles the cards, and she lays them out face down, and she says, I want you to pick 5, and then as you're picking those 5 cards, I want you to think about something that's troubling you in this life. Like, what's an issue you have that's really troubling you? And so, like, my mind just went blank, and I'm just like, zip, zip,
You're
zip.
like, my roof.
Yeah.
My roof has been troubling me.
Yeah. So I just kind of picked 5 cards, and she flipped them over, and I don't remember what the cards were, but the gist of what she told me is that my last life, or the life that's I'm carrying over the most karmatic death from, I wasn't necessarily rich, but I focused more on the money aspect in that life, and I put more value in the monetary things than in friendship and things like that. So then this lifetime around, what I find more important is the connections with other people, and like the connections of friends, and making moments and memories and things like that. And when she got done, she's like, does any of that make sense? Does any of that resonate? And I'm thinking, well, fuck yeah. I mean, I preach that shit all the time. Like, I'm all about just like friends and what friendship means, and that's what we should focus on, is moments and memories, because that's, if we do reincarnate, then what we're going to carry over with us in the next life are those that kind of that knowing, like that if I've worked so hard and have a really great relationship with Sean, then somehow that's going to carry over. And so that kind of resonated with me. And then she's like, well, that's, I still got 6 more minutes. What else do you want to know? I'm like, how about you just do a generic reading? And so she did the same thing. She shuffled the cards, had me draw like 4. And this time it ended up that I'm a creative individual. And if I want to be successful with my life, I need to move out of Wichita and, migrate somewhere else. And at that point, I was just like, yeah, not so much. But then I was kind of interested, because the first part of it seemed like pretty spot on, and the second part of it seemed like a pile of crap. Now, when I was looking up online research about tarot cards, basically what I could find online was saying that the person who's shuffling the cards is acting kind of like a conduit to help boost, your ability to contact your inner self, or the id, so to speak, or the higher subconscious. And so really, whenever you're doing a tarot reading, when you're doing an actual reading, you're getting the information that you already know. You're not telling yourself any hidden knowledge or anything like that. It's just your subconscious is reaching out, and it's kind of drawing you toward those cards. So it's really the person reading the cards is just telling you what the meanings are, but you yourself are actually picking them, for a purpose. Which is a lot like using a pendulum. They say, like, when you use a pendulum, it's your inner subconscious that's slowly twitching your hand, causing it to go toward the yes or toward the no. So you're not really discovering any hidden meanings that you already don't know. But I thought kind of like the back history of tarot card reading is that a man by the name of A.E. Waite decided that he was going to publish a deck. Back in the 1909, and he had a artist, Pamela Coleman Smith, draw and illustrate the 78 cards, and that has become the prominent deck that we use in the United States. And all of this is from a group called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Now, if you try to go to their website, their website's actually down, so you cannot go to. Hold on, let me click on it here real quick. HermeticOrderGoldenDawn.net. It just pulls up 404 error code. But I found another website that allows you to do a yes or no tarot reading. So, Rob, you're going to go first.
All right.
I want you to think of a yes or no question.
Do I have to say it aloud, or?
Yeah, it's not going to work if you don't say it out loud. Come on, yes or no?
I got to think of a yes or no question. Jesus Christ, you just can't throw that on a man. Will I ever get married again?
Okay. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. You picked the Wheel of Fortune card. Mm-hmm. And the answer is yes. You will have good fortune and happiness. Okay. Sean, your turn.
Was I frozen in a past life?
Okay. Easy peasy Japanesey. You picked the Emperor card, and your answer is no. You were not.
Thank goodness for that, boys.
Yeah. Well, there you go, folks. Tarot reading 101.
Wait, that was our reading?
What's that?
That was a shitty reading.
That was our reading?
Yeah.
I paid you $10 for that?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but you still got 6 minutes left. You get another reading, a generic reading. Go ahead, Preston. Give us a generic reading.
Yeah, okay, here, real quick. Let me ask you another yes or no question.
Okay, I'll let you have one more yes or no question.
Are you a shitty tarot card reader?
Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Hold on. We're getting there.
You got the Jeopardy card.
Hold on. The internet's got to load.
Or you just didn't like the card that you drew.
No. Hold on. Wow, I drew the Hermit, which is my favorite card, and your answer is yes. I am a shitty tarot card reader.
So to speak,
It all comes full circle.
to speak a little bit about tarot card readings, back when I was going through a divorce, 11 years ago, I worked with a guy named Sean, different Sean than Sean here on the podcast. And he had a deck of tarot cards, and he would read my reading every once in a while. He would always tell me, he goes, yeah, man. He goes, let's do this thing. And I just remember one time that he told me to shuffle the cards, and I dropped a few cards out of it, and I went to pick them up, and he's like, no. I was like, what? He says, those cards are gone. You cannot use those cards. They hit the floor, therefore they're out of the deck. Therefore they can't be part of the deck. They were out for a reason. And I was like, oh, wow. I was like, okay, never mind. But I'd always ask stuff about my marriage. Was I really going to get divorced? Was it really going to go through? And every fucking time that he would ask that question, every time I'd ask that question, the Tower card would come up. Now, for people that don't read tarot cards, everybody always thinks that the death card is the absolute worst card that you can get. That is not the case. If it's any kind of question like, am I going to get divorced or anything like that, the Tower card is actually the worst fucking card that you can pick. It means total destruction. That's why the picture on the card is a tower being struck by lightning and collapsing. It is actually the worst card that you can get. Death usually means death, but a new beginning. So that's actually something better, but Tower is total destruction, no survivors, game over, man, game over.
Game over, man.
So, but yeah, so I get intrigued by it, so I picked up my own deck of cards, and I did readings for a lot of people as well, and it kind of got, a lot of people thought I was scarily accurate. I worked with a girl, and I have a knack for getting to people's problems anyway. Like, I can usually talk to people and help them deal with stuff that they're dealing with that they open up to me. And I found that tarot cards is an excellent way to do that. There was this girl I worked with. She was going through an issue where, I don't want to give too much information away, but her boyfriend was in a court case, basically said that he molested an older woman, not an older woman, but like a woman that he was like in his 20s, and he supposedly fondled her in a dollar store. And I just thought that was a weird a weird story. But, I brought that up. She's like, I really want to know what's going to happen with this. I said, well, this is just for entertainment purposes and stuff. And the cards that kept popping up were odd because it almost sounded like the guy was guilty. And I just thought that was kind of weird. But what even was weirder is I was getting a lot of cards saying basically she was dealing with something that she dealt with years ago. And as the more I started talking to her about this, it came out that she was also molested by her uncle. And she thought that this was a weird story where, she thought it was like that really strange correlation where like, hey, something that's going on in the present had an effect because it affects me from something that happened in my past. And the tarot cards actually brought this up, and she was able to talk about it. So that was a real interesting situation. And I've done tarot card reading for other people, and I just have a knack for a lot of times tarot cards. I can read it. I don't really know what every card means, without looking at the book. So I still have a book, but the thing is a lot of times when I read that tarot card and what that description means, I can usually get something from the person I'm doing the card reading for that feeds into that card, so I'm able to pull more information out. It's strange, and I hate talking about it because, like I said, it makes me sound like I'm a little crazy. A lot of people call it being an empath and stuff, and I hate saying that because, I really do feel that way, and a lot of people that know me also get that feeling from me, but when you say it out loud, people seem to think that you are crazy or some kind of cuckoo. Yeah. So, but I've done it before where I could pull people's what's really behind the question that they're asking through the tarot cards and actually get them to open up about that so we can get to the root of the problem sometimes. So it's a really useful tool for that because people are more vulnerable because they don't believe it. But at the same time, when you start pulling stuff out, they kind of open up more because they're like intrigued, and then you can actually help them more than what you probably realize. So I really enjoyed doing tarot card readings, and I don't like doing it for people that I know personally, like best friends or, like my mom and stuff. It always makes me uncomfortable because I don't want to tell her something bad, and I don't want to know if it's possible that I know something's going on. It just always weirded me out. But for people that I'm just like casually friends with, or just people like over the internet and stuff, I would read their readings no problem. Sometimes I would even record it as I did it and then send them the audio file. So
nice.
It was something I was interested in. I still have my deck. I don't have the weight deck because I always thought those pictures looked generic. I got a different deck and I can't remember what it was called. But I have that deck, and it doesn't have the same. there's different words, like there's coins and pinnacles, and then some of them have pinnacles instead of coins or something like that. And I don't remember what it was, but yeah, it's I've really always enjoyed doing the tarot card readings.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, you learned something new about me today.
No, I was just gonna say, like I picked up on when I was having mine done, like the whole past life thing, like that was what I was more interested in. So I got the better reading on that. So like when we were doing like the generic one, I was like, fuck, I really don't care what she
Right.
says, and so I don't think that reading was as good. So
I think you got swindled.
yeah, it was only $15.
Well, I tell you what, I'll do it for you for 13 next time.
I think when we go see Rob for the big 4-0, we should make him do ours.
I would do that. The only thing I'm worried about is I was told when I got my tarot cards that you should never buy your own tarot cards. They should be gifted to you. So...
Oh, so what are you saying? You want us to buy you,
No,
want tarot
no,
cards
no,
for your
no.
birthday, Rob? Is that what you're getting at?
No. I'm just
I
saying...
mean, listen, if you'll do a reading for us, I'll buy you a nice shiny new thing of tarot cards.
They say that nobody should buy their own copy of Skyrim, but,
Yeah.
since you're coming to visit me...
what the funny thing is, I actually do have a set that was gifted to me, and when Dishonored came out,
good.
they actually gave a deck of tarot cards when you pre-ordered that
Oh,
game.
yeah.
But the problem is, I don't think it was the entire deck. So that's kind of disappointing.
There was a really crappy Fall Out Boy CD that came out and it had 4 tarot cards with it. Cool. Well, there we go, guys. I think that should be it. Preston, you got anything you want to plug?
No. Well, yes. Make sure to check out our buddy Steven's podcast. Oh, indeed. It's always a good show, good listen, and
4 O's or 4 H's,
How many H's, Preston?
not O's. Don't put 4 O's in.
well,
And it's not a 4-H podcast either.
how do wouldn't it still be, even with 4 H's? Isn't it still like oh, indeed?
No, because you just said oh ho ho. Just
Whatever.
oh, indeed.
Anyways, oh, indeed. Just listen to the fucking podcast. Okay, he's our man on the field. Does a good job.
Man, such a dirty sailor mouth.
Ooh, and listen and rate us on iTunes, because the more ratings we get, the more reviews, the more it pushes us out there to get new listeners. We'd really appreciate that.
We have 6 5-star ratings.
What about written? Or do we have 5?
Nope.
Oh God.
We just have 6 5-star ratings.
Okay, people, keep up with the ratings. We appreciate those 6 5-star ratings, but we need more. A really good written review. I'll read it live next podcast, so write a good one.
There's your incentive, folks. There's your incentive. Yeah, there you go. I don't really got anything to plug. Obviously, watch Black Mirror.
You actually asked me to plug something, and then you just went on to Preston.
You always go last.
But you asked me first, and then you went to Preston.
Then go, Rob.
No.
You're worse than he
No,
is.
that's cool. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So check out Black Mirror. Obviously, we talked about it earlier. It's a pretty great show. Check out Rick and Morty. No question about that. Go ahead, Rob. I'm done. Short and sweet, like
All
me.
right. Pixelated Radio. Pixelated Radio is our video game podcast with me, Mark, Rich, and Corey. Also, check out Sports Car Unleashed with Rich. It's all about sports cars that got unleashed. They're off the chains.
Oh.
But
They're off the hook.
and then also we run a D&D game on Wednesday nights, every other Wednesday. Normally, we took a week off. I'm starting to wonder if maybe we should give up on Twitch and do YouTube. I'm hearing YouTube's the happening place for things now.
Oh, is that right? You hip happening cat you?
Yeah, I don't know. So, or maybe we could do both. I don't know.
Also, don't forget, Kush does his solo show, Pixelated
Oh, fuck, I
Sausage,
almost
which is
forgot.
new, improved, and reformulated. So check that out.
I don't even know what he changed. I haven't listened.
Oh, you jerk. I listened.
What did he change?
He put, it's like a 97.3. 97% meat, 3% fat. It's a more lean sausage now, so
Oh.
It's got a little bit more girth to it, you know.
a little more girth. Well, that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining us. We will catch you next time, and who knows, maybe we'll record on Monday again and actually get the show posted on the new night.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.
Later, taters.
I said peace out like a turd.
The cast at Pixelated Paranormal would like to thank you for listening to this week's episode. Pixelated Paranormal is here to tell you tales of the fantastical, the strange, the unknown. Tales that will move you a little further down the paranormal highway. If you'd like to share your own listener story, we would love to hear it. You have two ways. One, email us at pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. Again, that's pixelatedparanormal@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave us a voicemail, we have that set up too. Dial us at 707-523-4263. Again, that's 707-523-4263. We'd really love to hear from you. Again, thanks for listening to this week's episode of Pixelated Paranormal, your guide to the unusual and the strange. It's okay. Sometimes it can be squishy.
Properly so.
I really just want to cry right now, Sean.
Go ahead.